So what are the best weapon options you should use with your Lohen? Lohen is going to be our newest cryo main DPS, and in this video we'll be doing a guide where I show you what are going to be his best weapon options, ranging from his best free-to-play weapons to his best 4-star weapons, his best in slot weapons besides his signature, so you can hopefully maximize your Lohen. Before we continue that though, if you're trying to get Lohen or any weapons for him, I bet it's been kinda hard to save up for primo gems. But don't worry, I got you. You should head to U7Buy, your ultimate gaming hub for safe, fast, and cheap in-game top-ups. From Genshin Impact to all of your favorite titles. The Genshin Impact's direct top-up page lets you recharge instantly. Check this out for example. The 8,080 Genesis Crystals price on the official store is going to be $99.99, which is so expensive. But on U7Buy, you notice that the storefront displays similar prices to the in-game store. But don't worry, the magic all happens in checkout. Once you click the Buy Now button, your total instantly drops to the actual discounted prices. And it can drop even more if you use my code Camilo. How to buy is also super easy. You just type your user ID, select your server and region, pay securely, and your account is going to be loaded instantly. It's that easy. Check the link in the description or the pinned comment to visit U7Buy, and remember to use my code Camilo for an extra 8% discount. Alright, so starting off with his weapon requirements, so we understand based around what we're going to be ranking those weapons in a tier list. Lohen is more or less just going to be a normal main DPS, and by normal I just mean he skills with attack, his damage crits, he deals mostly just normal cryo damage, not many reactions, he does melt sometimes maybe, depends on the team, but yeah, just a basic normal main DPS. That means his weapon requirements are usually just going to be pretty simple too. You'd want to prioritize getting crit rate and crit damage, probably just more crit rate since he already scales with crit damage, but both of them are going to be pretty good, so crit weapons are going to have tremendous value on Lohen. The next thing you'd want to get is just going to be attack in general, whether it's attack buffs or just higher base attack weapons. All of those are going to be pretty good. I mean, his base stat that he scales with is just going to be attack, so yeah. The next thing that's going to be appreciated is just going to be damage bonus in general, so any sort of like damage bonus, whether it's general damage bonus or normal tax damage bonus, because most of his damage is going to be like considered normal tax damage, or cryo damage bonus, any of those are going to be decent too. So if you can get them, then also do that. So that's mainly what you'd want. You might want some elemental mastery or energy recharge. Those are going to be a little usable. Depends on the team obviously, but in general he can take full use of them. But I would recommend just getting them from your substats. I wouldn't really recommend just full on going for like an elemental mastery weapon or an energy recharge weapon. So usually you just want to focus on the normal weapons, just any crit or attack stat sticks, and you're good. Alright, now now let's move on to the tier list and rank these weapons. So first of all, we have the 3 stars, starting off with a white tassel, and actually that's not a very bad start. The white tassel is going to have low base attack, obviously it's a 3-star weapon, but it's going to have a crit rate substat that's going to be pretty good. It's going to give you some crit rate, and then it can give you up to 48% normal tax damage bonus. That's a huge amount of damage bonus, and as I said before, most of Lohen's damage is just going to be normal attacks. It's technically going to be coming from your elemental skill, but it's going to be considered normal attacks damage. So that buff is going to apply to a big chunk of his damage, and 48% is definitely going to be huge. So honestly, the white tassel, even though it's a 3-star weapon, I'd keep it at either low A tier or very high B tier. It depends on the team, but generally, I keep it at very high B tier. I think it's one of the best free-to-play weapons you can use on him. Halberd, there's just going to be low base attack and then attack percentage. The passive is just some extra damage. I'll probably put it at C tier, honestly. I don't think it's as valuable as the white tassel. If you're using a 3-star weapon anyways, then just use the white tassel. The black tassel though is going to be completely useless, so I just put it at D tier. We've got the Dragon's Bane. It's just elemental mastery, and then it's basically almost fully useless. I keep it at low C tier, but yeah, it's not the best weapon. Prototype Star Glitter is just going to be energy recharge, and then it can also increase your elemental skill and normal charge attacks damage, but it's not going to be that good. I don't see why you would even use it. You have the white tassel, and that's probably going to be a little better, so yeah, just keep it at C tier. We have the Crescent Pike. It's not going to be terrible because it's going to have a higher base attack than average for a 3-star, and then it can also give you some extra damage based on your attack, which is decent, I guess, but in general, the physical damage substat is going to ruin it, so I keep it high C tier. Blackcliff Bowl is going to be decent, crit damage as a substat, and then you can potentially unlock the extra attack from the passive. Now, this is going to be very inconsistent against like big bosses, for example. That's going to be impossible to do, but against multiple enemies, that's always going to be pretty good. So I would assume like an average scenario, if you're able to unlock like the full 3 stacks, it's going to be like a low S tier weapon. If not, it's probably a B tier weapon, so I'll just keep it at the middle. I'd say Blackcliff is an A tier weapon. Deathmatch, it's a lower base attack than average for a 4-star, but it's going to give you crit rate as a substat. It's a decent substat too, and then it can increase your attack more unconditionally, so it can always give you some attack and defense. You can get more if there are less opponents, but even if there are 2 opponents, bonus, you still get 16% attack or more, which is pretty good. So in general, I'd say it's an A tier weapon too. Probably better than the Blackcliff in my opinion. I think it's just more consistent. So yeah, just keep it at A tier. Lithic Spear is just gonna be an attack stat stick, and it can give you some crit and attack from the passive, but you'll need some leeway characters to unlock it. I'm not sure you're gonna be playing them with too many leeway characters. I cannot really think of many, maybe like Bennett or Sean Ling if you're not using Nicole. But yeah, generally you'll get like a 1 or 2 stacks max. So I keep it at B tier. I think it's a B tier weapon. Favonius is just injury charge. That's not really the weapon you want to use on Lohen, so I just keep it at low C tier. Royal Spear is just an attack stat stick basically, so I just keep it at B tier. Dragon Spine Spear is just physical damage and then also a low base stack, so probably D tier. I keep it at D tier. Kitten Cross Spear is just gonna be elemental mastery, a higher base stack, but the passive, I don't really like it. Might mess with your energy a little bit. I probably keep it as C tier. The catch is just gonna be injury recharge and then increase your elemental burst damage and crit rate. That can increase your damage a little bit, but in general, it's not really the weapon you want to use. I'd also keep it as C tier. Wavebreaker's Fin is just gonna be high base stack for a 4-star and then a small attack substat, which is also pretty decent. The passive is just gonna increase your elemental burst damage, which is also not bad. I'll probably keep it at B tier too. I think it's a decent stat stick weapon in general. Wound Piercer is just gonna be elemental mastery and then some attack potentially from the passive, which is not bad, but it's definitely not the best weapon you want to use. I'll probably keep it a low B tier. Missive Wind Spear, just a full attack stat stick basically, just attack from the substat and then more attack from the passive potentially. It can also give you some elemental mastery, so it's definitely not bad. I keep it a very low A tier. I think it's a decent weapon in general, especially if you have some refinements on it. It's definitely gonna be pretty good. Ballad of the Forge is gonna be crit rate, which is pretty good, and then it can give you some elemental mastery if there are 3 different elemental types in your party, which I think is usually possible with Lohen, because you'd want like at least a Pyro and then maybe an Anemo or something else. So I think usually you're gonna be able to trigger the full passive, at least in most teams. I'd also keep it a low A tier. I think it's a decent weapon. Rightful Reward is just gonna be HP and then some energy. I'd probably keep it at D tier. It's not really the weapon. Dialogues of the Desert, also just keep it at D tier. Prospector's Drill, it's just an attack stat stick basically. You can potentially get more attack and also elemental damage bonus from the passive, but you'll need to be healed for that. And I think usually you're not really playing them with a healer. It's usually just Nicole with a shield. You can in some teams if you're playing like Bennett, for example, or Shalonen, but generally not. I'd say it's pretty inconsistent either way, so I just consider it an attack static. I'll just leave it at B tier. Mountain Bracing Bolt, higher base stack and then injury recharge substat, which is pretty decent, and then it's gonna increase your elemental skill damage. Not terrible, but probably not the best. I'll just keep it as C tier. Footprint of the Rainbow is just gonna be defense. It's just D tier. The Tamayurature thing is just gonna be injury recharge too, and then it's gonna increase your attack by a little bit when you use your elemental skill, which is pretty good. I'll probably keep it a low B tier just for the attack increase and a little bit of a higher base stack. Prospector's Shovel, it's just also basically gonna be an attack stat stick, so I'll just keep it straight in B tier too. And then finally for the 4-star weapons, we have Sacrificer's Staff. It's gonna give you a super high base stack for a 4-star weapon, 620, which is literally higher than some 5-stars. Not some 5-stars actually, it's higher than your average 5-star. It's also gonna give you a very small crit rate passive, just like 9% crit rate, but it's also gonna increase your attack and energy recharge, and you're probably gonna be able to trigger the full passive with Lohen. So I keep this weapon at A tier. I think it's definitely a pretty decent weapon. Probably the best premium 4-star weapon you can use on him. Maybe on par with like the Deathmatch and the Blackcliff, but yeah, it's definitely a pretty good 4-star. Now, finally moving on to the 5-star options. Unfortunately, those are just going to be better simply because of the usual higher base attack. So for a normal main DPS like him, almost all 5-star weapons are just going to be better than all of these weapons. So yeah, starting off with the Staff of Homa, it's just going to be crit damage, which he appreciates a lot. It's a huge crit damage substat, and then it can give you some attack based on your HP. Now, you're not going to be building a lot of HP on him, but it can still scale pretty well. So honestly, I'd keep it S tier. I think it's probably his 2nd or 3rd best in slot weapon in general. So yeah, there's not much to ask for. It's always been good on like just normal main DPSs, and yeah, it's still gonna be pretty good on low. You have the Skyward Spine, it's just gonna be an energy recharge substat, but a super high base attack, some crit rate from the passive, and then just some attack speed and damage bonus, which don't really matter as much. I'd probably keep it at a low A tier. It's not the best weapon, but it's not bad. Vortex Vanquisher is basically just an attack stat stick. You can also be shielded with Lohen usually if you're playing him with Nicole, so you can unlock the double thing, which makes it a pretty decent weapon. I put it like higher A tier. I think it's definitely pretty good. Primordial Jade Wing Spear, super high base attack, and then also a crit rate substat, which is pretty good. And then when you hit opponents, it's going to increase your attack and also your damage bonus if you have the maximum stacks, which should be easy with Lohen. You're going to be hitting opponents multiple times. So it's a pretty good weapon on him. I think it's probably his second or third best in slot 2. It's definitely around the Staff of Homa, so I'd also keep it at S tier. Calamity Queller is basically just an attack stat stick 2 with a super high base attack. It can also give you some elemental damage bonus, so it's not a bad weapon, but I wouldn't say it's super good either. I just keep it at A tier 2. Just a pretty big stat stick. Engulfing Lightning is basically just going to give you energy recharge. It can give you some attack, but probably not as much. It's going to scale with just your energy recharge, and you won't be building as much energy recharge on Lohen anyways, so you won't be nowhere near close to maximize the attack gain. In general, I keep it at very low B tier just for like the high base attack and the small attack increases, but generally it's not the weapon for Lohen for sure. Staff of the Scarlet Sands is going to give you crit rate, lower base attack for a 5-star, but it's still high enough, and it's going to increase your attack based on your elemental mastery. Now again, you won't really be building elemental mastery on Lohen, so it's going to decrease the value a lot, but in general I'd keep it a low A tier just for the crit rate and the small attack increases. It's still a pretty decent weapon, so yeah, just keep it low A tier. Crimson Moon Semblance, high base attack, crit rate as substat, which is pretty good. It's gonna give you some damage bonus, I guess, from the passive, which is also pretty decent. I'd probably keep it at high A tier, honestly. I think it's a pretty decent weapon, but in general, it's not gonna be perfect on Lohen because you won't be able to gain like the full damage bonus. You just get a small amount. We have Emily's weapon, Lumidos Elegy, crit rate substat 2, average base attack, and then also an attack increase from the passive. Rest of the passive is whatever, so it's basically just crit rate and attack. I'd also say it's the same thing. I keep it around A tier. Symphonist of Sense, crit damage as substat, and also an attack increase. The rest of the passive is also basically useless, so I just keep it right next to Emily's weapon at A tier. Fractured Halo is just gonna be crit damage too, and it's also just gonna give you attack basically, but it's gonna give you more attack than the previous two, so I keep it around them, but just above them at A tier. Bloodsoaked Ruins, high base attack and then crit rate as substat, which is pretty good, and that's basically it really. It's just like a crit rate stat stick and high base attack, so I keep it towards low A tier. I think that's probably the right place. And then finally we have his signature weapon. It's gonna give you a high base attack, crit rate as substat, which is pretty good, and it's gonna increase your normal and charge attacks damage by 40%, which is super good. It's also gonna increase your elemental skill and elemental burst damage by 40%, which is also pretty good. And that's almost gonna double if your character is Hexray, which Lohen is. So yeah, this weapon is gonna be pretty perfect for him. It's basically the damage bonus that the white tassel is gonna give you, but it's applied to all of your damage and then also combined with a super high base attack and a crit rate substat. So it's obviously the perfect weapon for him. It's gonna be the top of S tier. But yeah, usually for his S tier weapons, it's just gonna be the usual good weapons for any main DPS. Just his signature and then Staff of Homa, Primordial Jade. Some of these high A tier weapons can be S tier too. It depends on the team, but generally I would consider Staff of Homa and the Jade Wing Spear to be his only like actual full S tier options besides his signature. But all of the A tier weapons are gonna be pretty good and usable. You have also pretty good free to play options with the white tassel, even other options with the 4-stars like the Sacrifice, for example, if you have it. So yeah, I'd say it's fairly free to play friendly. If you have any 5-stars, you're probably good. Even if not, there's quite a couple of good 4-star weapons and even 3-star weapons. So yeah, but yeah, that was the video guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video. Peace.